He could have been Baby Mantis, which we call Bantus.
Bantus.
Welcome back, everyone, to S1E1, the show where each week we pick a different sitcom, watch just the first televised episode, and forgetting anything we may know about the future run of that show, rate it and decide if that's a show that we want to greenlight or cancel. This week we're going to be talking about Superstore. Superstore went 6 seasons with 113 episodes on NBC. Today we're talking about episode 1, which was called Pilot, originally airing November 30th, 2015. So to get things started, I'm Jay Gags. With me as always, the guys, Ferg, Gordo, Nick, and Joe. How's it going, guys?
Heyo.
Yo.
I don't want it soft. I want it out of me. A lot of Gordo humor in this episode.
For real. I thought about that a lot. Also, I'd like to preface this real quick. I have not finished Superstore, and I know some of you have, so don't spoil anything for me if you go to the future.
Well, we're not supposed, in theory, yeah, we're not really supposed to even talk about episode 2.
I know, I didn't watch the whole episode.
I can't believe in the finale everyone dies.
Another tornado.
Amy wakes up and the whole thing was a dream.
Oh, no, the Roseanne one.
She's been working at Target the whole time.
She wakes up and they're all just wearing traveling pants.
So, before we even go any further, though, I want to remind everyone, S1E1pod.com. Also, S1E1 Pod is where you can find all our socials like Twitter and Instagram. Please give us a follow. And then on everything else, rate, review, do all that stuff. Really means a lot to us. So if you can go ahead and do that, spread the word, let people know, that does a lot. So thank you. But yeah, let's get into Superstore. The show as a whole, guys, has everyone seen it to some degree before we did this episode, or is anyone completely new?
I've seen it.
Completely new.
Of course you are.
New.
You're slowly turning into Joe. I mean,
Back to the original.
opposite of Joe.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen everything. I feel like Ferg and I watch too much television.
I watch way too much television.
Where do you find the time?
It's in the hours where I try to sleep and can't.
Yep.
No, I can't do. I'm always browsing YouTube.
You're looking at memes of apes and gorillas, and we're watching fucking sitcoms from 40 years ago, usually.
Investments, Joe.
Pardon me, NFTs. Although I will say I found some TV show that's about European super movers. It's like, how are we going to get these 10,000 cars from India to North Korea? And it is the best thing to sleep to of all time. It is like weird human catnip.
Would you think that between the hours of 10 p.m. and like 4 a.m., Joe would somehow find a way to watch every television show that's ever come out?
That's what I've been doing since I was like 11 years old. That's why I can tell you every plot device to like WKRP in Cincinnati and all these.
But he doesn't want to
shows.
dedicate the time to watch the Marvel movies.
Not enough time for those, yeah.
No, not enough time.
I just don't care about somebody walking in and being like, waka waka, now it's time to do this. And then there's another end scene credits and
In
somebody else does
fairness,
the same thing.
Fozzie Bear doesn't join the Avengers until way later in that.
Well, now I feel like it's a spoiler. Right?
Yeah,
I feel
but
like I
he
shouldn't
is in
be.
Superstore, which we're covering today.
All right, yeah. So yeah, we should probably talk about Superstore right now. To go over it again, Gordo's the only one who hadn't seen it going into this episode. But to recap everyone who's new to us, all we do is watch the pilot episode. And even though some of us have seen it, we're going to pretend as if we haven't. We're going to talk about the pilot exclusively, or do our best to. Let's get right in from the opening. Starts off with, you just kind of hear narration going, and you're seeing all these various shots of the store itself. What you hear is the American Superstore, one-stop shopping for everything you could ever want or need. Do you want to be thinner, fatter, happier, sadder? Are you looking for friendship or solitude or even love? As this is happening, like I said, we're seeing all different shots of the store itself, and we're getting weird little kind of examples to go along with the things he's saying. So when he's talking about, do you want to be thinner? You see a girl like on the treadmill, like on top of a shelf.
Yeah, the treadmill's on like a 5-foot tall display.
Yeah, so this whole intro and any like transitional shot in this whole show is just the equivalent of that Meanwhile at Walmart meme that like goes around and just like shows people.
Yeah, I do appreciate the interstitials are just like the characters because it adds another element to the show, right? It's not just about these people at work. You forget sometimes in these workplace comedies that there are customers, and
right.
Those are sometimes the most interesting, pieces of it.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like, do you guys want to talk about it right now, or should we wait until we get a little further in, like the store itself? Should we just get into it now?
Let's get into it now.
Sure.
what they do a good job of here, for those of you who haven't seen Superstore, is it looks like they're filming it live at like a Walmart or a Target. Like,
so the pilot was shot in an operational store.
Oh, really?
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So they they just kind of redecorated parts of the store, but some like customers you see in the background of this episode are actual customers in a store that they were just filming in for the pilot. And then they moved to like, they have multiple sound stages for different parts of the store as the season progresses.
Yeah, and you know, to peel back is, you know, we have watched it. It's seamless. After the pilot, it doesn't look any different when they go to the sound stages.
Yeah.
It's amazing the set that they created.
Right.
I will say one thing that throws me off. I think you see it for like a quick glimpse in this episode. I know you see it later on, but you see it in this one. Is it all the Blu-rays and DVDs, whatever, are all spine out?
Oh, yeah.
They're not cover facing. Can you imagine going to like Target or something and being like, oh, I'm gonna look through the Blu-rays so I can find something fun to watch this weekend, and everything was just like library booked out. Like
that happens to
I would
like
never spend the time.
A lot of shows until they start making money.
I'd be alphabetizing. I'd be going nuts.
Once shows start like making money, that's when they can like show products because now the companies want them in. So if you look at like early episodes of a lot of shows, The Office, I'm sorry, I always bring up, comes to mind. If you were in the break room and you see the vending machine, everything was flipped backwards because they don't have like the rights to like show any of those products.
And then it's all Utz, right?
Yeah. Hers.
Yeah.
That was the thing that I just had to look it up because it was a redressed Kmart in Burbank, California for the pilot of this show. Apparently, I meant to look for this too, but I forgot about it. You can see Kmart signage throughout the episode too, I guess.
Oh, interesting. I want to go back.
Kmart still exist
at the time. I mean, this was what, 2015?
Not that old.
I think they still do too, because I think Kmart ended up buying Sears, and that was one of those things that was sort of like a mental gymnastics. Like as a kid growing up, you always thought of Sears as like the big anchor store in the mall, and they were like the big deal, but they were actually owned by Kmart.
There are currently 12 Kmart stores remaining in the country.
There's just 12?
Yeah, they just had a big like sell off, like they're going under.
Is so ultimately depressing. Nick, where's the closest one? Can we go to one?
They're close to one in Somerville down.
Joe, you wouldn't go if it was one town over from you, and you want to go to the closest one.
A pilgrimage to the last big K, I will do. Okay.
There is a big K in Brockton.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we have one of the last 13.
They're down to 6 now. I just noticed, and that was an old article, and as of 2021, there are 6 left. So let's go burn that motherfucker down.
5 left, motherfucker.
I'd rather not re-experience my youth in department stores than have to go to the South Shore.
To get back into the show a little bit, so you guys know, the store that they work at is called Cloud9. That's their version of. It's really most mirroring like Walmart and Target. It's supposed to be of like that level of, you know, store.
It's like much more of a Walmart than a Target, though. Even the Target superstores, this feels much more big boxy and Walmart.
But you know what you're basing that on? Blue. They wear blue.
Yes, and the vests. They
don't
don't
know
wear
if that's the
vests
only
at
thing.
Target.
I swear, if it was the same thing and they were wearing red, you would go kind of like a Target.
I mean, what is really the difference between a Walmart and a Target?
Blue and red.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Walmart's bigger and Walmart sells guns.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, after the intro, we see this, it like cuts to a girl who's working behind the jewelry counter. And that's, her name's Amy, and that's played by America Ferrara.
You don't know that yet. That's at the end of the episode.
It's fine. Well, we're not going to wait until the very end of the episode to reveal the character's name because it will be very hard to have a conversation.
Now it's Ramona.
Yeah.
Ramona.
America Ramona.
But anyways, America, she best known as Ugly Betty. That was like her huge breakout role before this show came out.
I've never seen that show, so you found one I haven't seen.
This was the first thing I've ever seen this girl in.
You guys don't remember like Ugly Betty? It was like a phenomenon when it came out.
I remember its existence. I just never watched it, so I couldn't have told you, oh, that's Ugly Betty.
But that was her
that wasn't like
fame.
pitched for us, you know?
No.
I also very much remember the Traveling Pants movies, but again, that wasn't like something we'd go see, but other than being really popular.
And she's the employee there, and she's talking to a customer who's his name's Bo, and he's played by Johnny Pemberton, who I don't know if you guys are too familiar with him. He's a comedian by trade, like he does a lot of stand up and stuff. But I don't know,
he was on
like
the Kroll Show a bunch.
Yeah, I wouldn't know like other than like from here originally, and then like later finding out, I didn't know too much about him. But yeah, in any event, he's the customer, and he's at the jewelry counter, and he's trying to buy a cubic zirconia knockoff called Plastic Clear. And he was upset because he wanted the $8 ones, but I guess these are a whopping $10. So it's showing you a little bit about where where he sits in society, that he's trying to buy an engagement ring, but he didn't want to, gum up $10. 8 was his original budget.
The knockoff of the knockoff.
Yeah.
I also like to think that somewhere in like the Pacific Northwest, there's an all Everclear cover band called Plastic Clear, and they're playing right now to like 7 people in some bar, and I wish we were all there.
It's actually former members of Everclear.
Yeah, it's everyone who used to be in the band.
He thought that he was being suckered in, like, oh, you reel us in with like, the $8 ones, and then we get here, and then all you get is the $10. It's like, yeah, I don't know if that's how they go about doing that, but he's got like I'm trying to define how his character is. He's very
much reminds me of Luann's boyfriend from King of the Hill.
Okay.
Whatever is Buckley.
Okay.
Buckley?
Yeah. Buckley.
Buckley's Angel.
Ferg, I think maybe you're the only one who has watched it, but he reminds me of J-Rock from Trailer Park
Oh,
Boys.
yeah, he
yeah.
does. Yeah, he kind of does.
Know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm
Know
saying?
what I'm saying?
After the conversation they have, he does muster up the $10 and decides that he's going to grab that ring, and he takes off, and, she says like, oh, I hope you and your fiance are very happy together. And like, as he's like away far enough, she goes, and you don't procreate. And then that's when she tells her boss, Glenn, that she needs to take a little time off for a little mental health break. Her boss, Glenn, is played by Mark McKinney, who's hilarious.
Ugh,
Kids in the
Oh
Hall.
my God.
He's
This
in
guy.
the greatest Saturday Night Live sketch of all time.
Which one?
The sketch where he is a teenage girl being taken home from babysitting with Chris Elliott as the dad, and he feeds her a bunch of Zima.
Yeah, the Zima. That tastes like candy.
Tastes like candy, and then it gets so dark, and then it ends with him in jail screaming, "I would do it again!" Like, oh my god, how did they let this on TV?
I forgot that he had like a cup of tea with SNL as well, but
Yeah, I
He
did
also
too.
had that
Yeah.
great sketch, a pretty recurring sketch with Mike Myers, where they were both like soccer hooligan skinheads, where they would just drink and like smash their heads into glasses. Like he had like a really weird bunch of characters on SNL.
So when I said Fozzie was on the show Superstore, this is who I was referring to, because he has the voice of a Muppet.
yeah, he does.
He definitely has a Muppet voice.
And it's because it's not his like natural voice.
Natural,
So it's
yeah,
like,
no.
you would think it would almost be like difficult for him to speak that way. It's so animated, and like I couldn't replicate it if I tried. I couldn't try to do that voice.
No.
Nope.
I was going to try, but I just embarrassed myself.
As this show goes on, he cuts ahead as my favorite character so hard, because I mean, even in this episode, he's just so goofy, and in all the right ways. Like, it's not like annoying goofy or anything like that. He's just a huge goofball, and I love it.
And even when he does things like where like you'd be so mad if you had a boss who was like trying to do like crazy religious things or anything. Like that. You'd be
Right,
like,
but
I
his
don't wanna deal with this.
inflection.
But with him, you're just like, I'm fine with that. I don't know.
You have your faith, big guy.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want, bud. I'm not mad.
So from that scene, we cut to like a job interview that's going on. And what I thought was weird is that the job interview is happening like right in the middle of the floor. I know some people kind of do stuff like that, some stores, but a place like this is big enough. It's a giant department store. They have definitely offices and rooms in the back where they can be conducting interviews, so they don't have to do it like in the middle of the like fake lawn furniture section.
When I worked at Staples in high school, we had like the big back section that was where you put all like the desks and like desk chairs and stuff. So like you'd make them, you could test them out, and then you buy them. And they had one set up right in the middle that had a computer on it. That's where you took like your, I don't want to call it online, but inline application thing. So you could just walk in and sit down, spend 45 minutes taking an application to get a job there. And people did all the time. So if your job was somebody bought a desk chair and they were like, go put this together for the customer, you had to just sit next to somebody being like, unemployed, like $8 an hour. It's like, it's such a nightmare.
It's not really a great way to advertise wanting to work there either.
Some sweating shithead teenager putting a chair together covered in grease being mad about it.
Have any of you guys ever had to do like a job interview, like a person-to-person interview in the open like that? I've never had a job where that's been the case.
Not in the open.
In the open like that, not really,
In the
no.
open, kind of, actually. Food service, it happens a lot.
Gordo was on a casting couch once.
Who's boner?
He didn't get the job.
Go stuck in the laundry.
No, but in restaurants you do that sometimes. You'll walk in because obviously there's really no place for you to sit other than like where the customers sit. So sometimes it can be before service or during service where you speak to a manager. So yeah, I've done that.
I wonder if that's just the character, because she's like a workaholic, like, and like really takes the building serious. So maybe she was like, I don't want to stop working. I'm going to do two things at once.
I mean, possibly. And for the record, who you're talking about is Dina. And so, yeah, Dina's conducting this job interview with a man named Jonah. And you can tell right from the bat that she has like a bit of a crush on him. So as she's going through his applications, she's a little flustered just talking to him to begin with. And then
he is dreamy.
He is. And she kind of works into the conversation. Oh, it doesn't say anywhere if you have a girlfriend. And he's like, is there a space for that? It's like, oh, there's a section here if there's like anything else that, we should know. Some people volunteer it.
Also, Dina, one of 2 cast members in this episode who were in Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, which is the funniest thing in the world to me.
The movie, or just that she was in it?
No, they were both in the movie. Like, 2 people in this show were both in that movie.
Yeah, and Dina's played by Lauren Ash, and Jonah is Ben Feldman. Jonah, like, I'm trying to think, Silicon Valley?
The only thing I know him from.
Yeah, like, I know him from that, and then...
He also, I don't know, like... I've gone through his IMDb a bunch of times because he reminds me of somebody, but I think that's
Scott Baio.
Scott Baio is it. Yeah, I think, but...
You all stole my fire. I was going to say that next.
Jonah Bobla.
Like, if they ever remake Charles in Charge, they better fucking call him up.
Who'd play Buddy in a remake of Charles in Charge, though?
God, I don't know.
Hey, Charles.
We really need to recast it.
Charles. We'll just get, I forget who played Buddy originally, but we'll just get him too. It'd be his weird old friend.
He was Bible Man, right? That guy went on to be Bible Man afterwards.
Oh yeah, he did become Bible Man. Him and Kirk Cameron both really went off the deep end there.
Is that what Avengers movie was that?
It was Endgame 2.
The funny thing is I've seen more of the Kirk Cameron Bible Man movies than I've seen any of the Avenger movies.
Wait, that's a real thing? Bible Man?
Bible Man, yeah.
We'll take this offline, but get ready to have your entire night taken over.
Yeah, but let's not take over this entire show with it. So let's move on real quick. And like I said, Dina is Lauren Ash. Do you guys recognize her from anything before this?
No, I didn't.
No.
Yeah, Paul Blart Mall Cop Part 2.
Was that already, did that predate the show? 2015? Actually, it could have been first. It could have been before.
It may have been, yeah. But I definitely saw that before I saw this show. I came to this show a few seasons in, but I saw the Mall Cops as they came out.
So terrible.
The first one's not that bad. The second one really undoes all of the first one.
I don't want to have too much Paul Blart 2 talk, but I can say 1 year for like Mother's Day, I think me and my mom went to the show and saw it because we were like, let's just go to the movies. It's Mother's Day. And that was the closest to anything we could mutually agree on. So we're like, all right, fuck it. We'll just see Paul Blart 2.
It's like either that or like a re-screening of like Chocolat or something. You're like, yeah, we're not going to do that, Mom.
We probably shouldn't be talking about it because Ferg is banned from the King of Queens subreddit, so they'll never hear it.
Yes.
So I know we bring up The Office a lot, but she's like the closest character to Dwight.
Oh yeah,
she's the Dwightest Dwight that ever Dwighted.
She is Dwight, 100%. Yep.
Which makes me think of when Dwight works at Staples. Her character is literally just when Dwight works at Staples for those 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Which is funny because he does his talking heads out in the open, sitting at one of those desks.
He does, actually.
Yeah. After this interview, we kind of cut back to Amy, and she's sitting there, and you see a customer walk by, and like there's like a pyramid of toilet paper, and the guy grabs one like from in the middle, which starts to collapse a bunch of them down. And that's when Amy and Jonah meet for the first time. Amy's coming back from her little mental health break, so she's not in uniform. So Jonah doesn't realize that she's a coworker or her superior, his superior rather. As he's cleaning up, she doesn't know he just interviewed, so she's like, oh, you don't have to, don't worry about it. And he's saying, no, I work here, don't worry. And she's like, oh, you work here? He's like, yeah. And the conversation's kind of like, I know I don't look like someone who would work here. And he's kind of like demeaning the job or anyone who works there. Again, unaware that she works there. In this conversation, is it apparent to you guys right away that like these are the 2 that they're going to try to pair together?
Will they,
right
won't
away.
they?
Yeah.
Yep.
It looked like it was very obvious from the moment that they like, locked up in that scene. I thought at least.
Yeah, I also love the idea that like there's no real uniforms there. You just wear a smock. So like when you go on break or whatever, you can just take it off and be a regular person. And it gives you a whole bunch of stuff to play with where is somebody an employee? Is we just wearing a blue vest? If Ernest walked in, you'd assume he was an employee.
So I did work at Target at one time in my life, but I've gone into Target wearing a red shirt. And people thought I was an employee.
Right, yeah, like Target's kind of smart because they must save millions on just being like, just wear a red shirt, it doesn't matter.
It's just dress code.
Yeah, they just print name tags. That's all they
Yeah,
give
it's
you.
so smart.
I kind of want to go into a Target wearing a red shirt and then just tell people to go fuck themselves.
But what do you gain from that, really? Aside from getting banned from Target?
Instagram followers.
Well,
Is that what your game is? Is that what you're going for? Instagram followers?
I gotta go for something. The apes aren't paying for themselves.
They don't have to pay for uniforms, but if you don't already have those things, you have to buy them from Target. So it's like double profit.
Right, they sell basics. You just buy a red shirt.
I mean, if someone told me go buy a red polo shirt, Target would probably be the first place I'd think of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be the off the bat one.
I get mine from Cloud9.
Yeah, and the one other thing I want to mention about this exchange is when it's finally revealed that Amy works there is because another character, Cheyenne, who's clearly pregnant, walks up and asks if she can take a quick break, and Amy's the one who grants permission. So that's when Jonah realizes not only does Amy work there, but, is probably a person of power over him. Cheyenne, I think her name is Nicole Sakura. Yeah. I don't know her from anything before or even after. She had a big role on the show through its run, but I really don't recognize her outside of Superstore.
Yeah, nothing else for me either. This is the first time I saw her, and I can't place her from anything else. But she's very funny. I'm sure she'll be great with her stuff. I mean, she's super good in the show.
From there, we get the intro, which is a really basic, just, name of the show, quick little jingle, like few bars, and then it moves on.
I love this jingle. It's like the shortest thing that gets stuck in my head.
Like,
Yeah.
It gets the point across really well, but it's also very, very catchy. I like it a lot.
Now, this is episode almost 50, right?
For us, 45.
45, right. So we're 45 episodes in, which means in a very analytical way, we've, for the 45th time, watched the intro to a sitcom. Does everybody feel like this is a good way to go or a bad way to go? I personally am
Shorter is
short
better.
and out. I love it.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm in the minority. I like a long, really good not sitcom. I like a good intro, gets stuck in your head.
It really
do you want
depends
it every
with me.
time, or do you want it to be like first episode of every season and then the syndication cut down?
No, I still want it, but you can give a shortened down version where you cut out a verse. But I still want the song.
I
Give
will
me
say that some of
DuckTales.
them, like, I couldn't handle not singing the whole Jefferson song. You know what I mean? Like, there are some that you're like, well, that's just a great song.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm with Ferg. Give me like a DuckTales. Give me like a Happy Days.
Which Happy Days they do too.
I don't know.
The main one.
The main
These
one.
days around.
Yeah.
Well, the first season they do Rock Around the Clock.
No, not that one. The other one. The other one. that
Yeah, in
they're
the
known
first
for.
season, he also had a brother who disappeared.
His name is Clint Howard, and he's in lots of things.
Hold on. We'll talk about Happy
How
Days
do
in the
you
future.
know that?
No, Clint Howard is a real
It's
person.
Ron Howard's real brother.
How much real estate does the cast of Happy Days?
It's his real brother.
He's
and
talking about his,
also an
shoot
actor.
brother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not talking about the character. He's talking about Ron Howard's actual brother, Clint. Big gap in his teeth.
Clint Howard is an actor who's in a lot of things.
You would know him right away. He's in everything. He's in Rock and Roll High School. He's in Seinfeld. He's in everything.
The Ice Cream Man.
The Ice Cream Man, Backdraft.
Okay.
But anyways, because we keep drifting quite a bit in this episode.
So let's go watch Backdraft.
Again, the intro is short. I think it's good for a lot of modern shows just because it gives you a little bit more time for the actual episode. You're cutting up. It's a 22-minute show, so you're getting a bonus minute.
You know what it is too with these short intros is that now in the day and age of streaming, you can skip them. So why put the money and effort into making a long drawn out song?
It is a great point, actually. Yeah.
Also, if you used to have a 1 minute long intro and now you have a 30-second one, that's one more commercial you can sell if you're on regular TV.
Or it's one more scene you can put in it. That's
Right.
the way I
That's
look
true.
at it. I would rather put, instead of having a 22-minute show with a minute-long intro, I'd rather get that 1 minute. A minute's a long time as far as a scene goes.
When you only have 22 minutes to work
Right.
with for the entirety of the show. Yeah.
Exactly. So when you see something like Friends or like the shows we were just talking about, that's a whole scene right there. You could have just put it back in. That's why I like these little quick ones.
So a few of us watched the show Peacemaker, and without that intro, I don't think that show would be as successful as it is. And it's a great show,
Yeah.
but man, that's a good intro.
Peacemaker is the first show I remember in a very long time where I never skip the intro.
Me
Same.
too.
But I will say this. I would prefer it if it was longer sometimes.
show?
That show just ends all the time on me, and it drives me fucking nuts.
Yeah, I kind of wish I found that show later so I could watch it all at once.
The only other thing I want to say about like intros though that comes to mind is there's a lot of times where when a show has the same intro for like years and years, inevitably there's changes to the cast and then they have to like recut and remake an intro like all the time when there's like new main characters or features or people leave. So
that's not tough though. That's just dragging a clip in.
Oh, I didn't know you did a lot of intro editing.
It's the one thing I can do is edit intros.
Ferg's an expert at that.
Yeah, so after that, we cut to the break room for the first time, which, again, when we talk about sets, like, the store looked great. The break room looks great. This looks like break rooms I've had. Like, it was very believable. I just think every piece of this set and is just so spot on that it really enhances, like, the believability of the show.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, like Nick said earlier, it definitely was shot someplace, but if it looks the same going into other episodes, I would believe that that's a real store 100%.
Oh, yeah, it's seamless after that.
The only thing it's missing from break rooms I've been in like that before is there needs to be a TV with rabbit ears playing half reception Spanish language or French language soap operas. I feel like that's all those jobs you walk in because it's all it's on in the middle of the day that the rabbit ears will get is whatever local channel.
When I worked at a supermarket, we used to just keep the game show network on because it was like just one of those things everyone could agree on. So it's just like all day game shows. That's all we watched.
Show me dildo.
R.I.P. Louis Anderson. In this little break room situation, they're having kind of like a bit of a team meeting of sorts where Dina and Glenn are standing in front of everybody, and first Dina's going over like some stuff where she's showing like the difference between decongestant and meth. And I don't know how often that came up in the store, but
no, she's talking about how you can't sell a whole bunch of decongestants because people make meth.
Oh, was that it? All right.
Because Cheyenne sold 40 of them to one guy.
And she's like, oh, he told me he had a really bad cold.
Yeah.
Which is true. You can't actually buy a lot of decongestants now without having...
Yeah, it's legit against the law.
Yeah.
And I like that Garrett, who we'll talk about a little bit later, is like, am I the only one who thinks it's weird that she's walking around with a bag of crystal meth?
She just has that.
And then we also get, this is when Glenn wants to introduce the two new employees, which is Jonah, who we saw his interview process, and then Mateo as well. Mateo is a very effeminate gay character on the show. He's Filipino, I believe.
I believe so.
Yeah.
He's also in Paul Blart Mall Cop Part 2. He's the second one.
He's played by Nico Santos. Again, other than Paul Blart 2, I can't think of a lot of acting credits that I'm aware of.
Mantis?
Oh, if only he was in Mantis. He could have been Baby Mantis, which we call Bantus.
Bantus? What the fuck?
I'm sorry.
It caught me off guard.
He said it like the froyo in The Simpsons.
Yeah, that's what I was doing, yeah. The Mantis is also cursed.
During this whole process, he asks the two to stand up and address themselves really quick. At first, Jonah has a pretty short and sweet, hey everyone, I'm Jonah, just happy to be working here, and nothing out of this world.
Just here to have fun.
Mateo gets up and he just gives a much more involved speech where he says that he wants to spread his wings and see how far he can fly. So now Jonah feels like he's been one up. So Jonah gets back up to be I also want to spread my wings, just for the record.
This is like being at a family Thanksgiving and it's we're going around the table and everyone say what they're thankful for. And you're just I'm thankful for I have the day off. And the person next to you is just family is so important and we're all here. And you're oh, horse shit. I was trying to get through this.
And yes. And also I want to say during the scene, before that, you get a lot of back and forth between Jonah and Amy where they're still kind of bickering back and forth. And I don't know, again, it's very clear that even though they do not like each other, I think it's very apparent that there's, some sparks.
Yeah, agreed.
I think, I can understand her being mad at the time, but she draws this out for a while. It's get over it.
Well, I think it's, she's probably reflecting on where she's at in life, and she thought that she'd be positioned somewhere different than just working at a department store, and then he comes in and kind of demeans the joke job, so she's just taking it personal. It's not so much about his like job performance or anything like that. It's more a reflection of how she feels and how he made her feel about her decisions.
What's weird to me about this, though, is that, like, I have seen and been part of, like, on my own end, like, feeling like, my job, whatever, maybe it's not what it should be at this age. Like, a lot of people have gone through that before, but I feel like that's never inwardly to people who also work where you work.
Right? Everyone's like, yeah, this place sucks.
Yeah, it's like, it's weird to be like, I can't believe I'm stuck at this retail job, retail coworker. It's like, yeah, that person's right there with you. It's not like you should take the aggression out on them who's doing the exact same thing as you. Like, not there's anything wrong with that job. It's just, but that's the wrong person to lash out to. A customer, sure, but not another employee.
Well, I like how at the end of the meeting, he goes, usually I end the meeting with a Bible verse, but it was reported to like corporate that I was doing it, so I'm not like allowed to. And then you find out it was Dina, Dina that reported him. And she's like, I'm Catholic too, but when we're working, this handbook is my Bible. they just have they go back and forth with, I'll pray for you. I'll pray for you hard. It's like,
I'm going to pray for you so hard.
Also very Dwight. This is such a Dwight.
This is the point where she turned to Dina Shrew.
When Glenn's like, I'm praying harder than you. I know how. So, oh, and it closes out with, that's when Glenn just plays the Jurassic Park theme on his phone and holds it up in the air.
Yeah.
There's no time I can hear that and not get it stuck in my head for at least an hour.
But why the Jurassic Park theme? Like, did he think that was a different song? Like, was that supposed to be like Olympics?
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Oh, okay.
And he says, welcome to Cloud 9.
Got it. Okay. That went over my head.
Cloud 9 finds a way.
But yeah, so from there we get the scene where it's Jonah and Garrett, and they're just kind of going through the aisles together. And Jonah's kind of like, hey, any like kind of training? Like, I've just been kind of wandering from department, to department, just trying to look like I'm, busy. And that's when Garrett gives him the tip, like, oh, just carry a box, like, whatever. So he throws him a box, and whenever you have a box in your hand, it looks like you're busy, which was a nice little tip because it really did make him look busier.
I used to do that at Target. I would walk around with like a box, then play with toys in the toy aisle.
That's the best way to get rid of like anybody bothering you if you work at like the UPS store or like the UPS factory. Just walk around in circles with an empty box. People just assume you're doing something.
That's probably why all my packages are taking days and days to get here all the time.
Probably. Also, you didn't mention Garrett, who is one of the sleeper best characters of Parks and Rec.
Yeah, he's up there.
That's right.
The animal control people.
They throw the dead birds at the wedding.
And he's played by Colton Dunn, and and I thought it was kind of interesting for the show that they had Garrett's character. He's in a wheelchair, but they don't address it much, which is great, and he just exists in that world that way.
Yeah, I would understand that if he was really in a wheelchair, but he's not in a wheelchair on Parks and Rec.
No, he doesn't need one in real life. Like
exactly.
Colton doesn't need one. Garrett does.
I assumed that he was I forgot he was in Parks and Rec. I assumed they hired him. He was already in a wheelchair and he's a good actor.
I did too. Like I forgot that it was I didn't connect that I was the same guy at first when I started watching Superstore, and then Googled out of curiosity one day, like, oh, does this guy really, use a wheelchair? I was like, oh, okay. And I just thought it was an interesting choice,
Places like Walmart have like policies where, they give benefits to, handicapped people, give them a chance to work when otherwise sometimes
it's called the equal employment opportunity. Every employer is supposed to do that.
Walmart is great about that, though.
They are.
And I think that maybe is where the reference came from.
It makes sense.
Yeah, no, they are.
But I love that it's really not talked about. It's just, as a matter of fact, hey, he's in a wheelchair.
There is one episode later in the seasons where Jonah gets curious about why he's in it. Garrett kind of just fucks with him the whole time, but at a certain point, he's like, listen, if I tell you why I'm in a wheelchair, you will automatically put me in a box of those types of people. And he goes, if you don't know, you can't do that, so I'm not going to tell you. And that's as far as I know. They never get into it.
I don't think they do. No,
I love that they don't. Yeah, that's great. Just like why bring it up if you don't have to? Like, let it be what it is. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Anyways, that scene concludes travels into the point where Jonah and Garrett are walking, and that's when Jonah discovers Amy again, and then he kind of wants a fresh start because they've just been butting heads since the second that they met. And he's like, hey, can we just start over? He's like, I'm Jonah, as you know, and you're Ramona. He's reading her name tag, and that's when she's like, nope, that's not my name. I just don't like random strangers using my name like we're buddies. And then he's like, right, like how hookers don't like to be kissed on the lips. And she's like, did you just compare me to a hooker? He's like, no.
What a good idea, though.
To not kiss hookers on the lips? laughs.
I agree.
Well, yeah, that too, yeah. But no, not giving out your name.
Yeah.
That it is a good idea. I would do that.
We used to get in trouble for that at the supermarket I used to work at. They were like really mad about it.
I've never worked a job where I've had to wear a name tag, unless you count the airport where you have to have your badge. But
I count the airport.
I would say I've had jobs like that, and you don't think about it because you go on break, and then people think they're funny, and you're like at a register or something. People are just like, "Oh, hey, have a good day, Joe," and you have that weird sinking moment where you're like, "Fuck, do I know this person?" And I didn't recognize them, and I'm a dickhead now. And they're like, "Oh no, they're just looking at my stupid name tag."
I used to work at Old Navy as well, where that was the other name tag situation that I used to have to be in. But yeah, no, people will address you by your name all the time, and not always in a condescending way. Sometimes it's just that's obviously why it's there, right? So they can address you and not call you like buddy and chief all day.
I think it's more there so they can complain about you on Yelp later.
Well,
Jason was an asshole, and for a retired navalman.
I will say, I think the creation of the name tag was a little before Yelp, so I don't know if that was the initial intent, but maybe suited that way now.
There were Yelp reviews chiseled into the caves where Neanderthals lived, all right?
Fire good, tire good, restaurant bad.
Fire bad. Anyways, after the hooker comment, Amy's like, you know what? You look bored, so let me help you. And then she hands him like a scan gun and teaches him how to like reprogram, I guess, a bunch of the stuff in electronics, how to go to 25% off. So she's going over real quick and she's saying, override, do this, do that. And he's like, are you paying attention? Like, yep, go ahead. And she's like, got it. And then she kind of like leaves him off to his own. And then from there, we have this quick thing where Amy's talking to a like customer who's asking for the difference between stool softener and laxatives.
How do you not know the difference?
Well, she runs away because she sees, what's his name, proposing.
Right, because Cheyenne, and as we find out, Bo, who is the guy buying the plastic clear ring earlier, it turns out that he's the man who's marrying Cheyenne, the pregnant girl from earlier on.
Good for you, Bo.
Good for you, Bo. Cheyenne, you could do better.
As she's trying to stop him from doing this, though, we keep getting that lady who's still trying to just talk about the stool softeners. And that was, Joe, the quote that you said at the beginning of the episode, I don't want it soft, I just want it out of me.
I just want it out of me, yeah. Which I feel like the soft makes it come out as well.
So isn't that like, why is she even asking that? Because clearly she wants the laxatives.
I want to say the packages explain, rightfully so.
I will say this. I mean, what the show does a good job of, though, is interactions like this are real. Like, this is how customers
100%.
act.
How dumb people are.
When you say, isn't that super obvious? Like, the way we normally dissect a sitcom? Yes, it is. But in these worlds, it is very likely that
It
that'll
reminds
happen.
me of that scene in Parks and Rec when Ron's forced to sit at the circular desk and the woman's just following her around as he's spinning. She's like, there's a sign that says don't use a sprinkler water, and it's, well, I use it to make sweet tea and now I have diarrhea, something like that.
Yeah, so that conversation kind of ends with Amy interfering and just trying to stop Cheyenne from doing it, just kind of give her why don't you just wait and think about it a little bit? And then, but as that's happening, the customer is like, yeah, okay, I'm going to sleep on it because she thinks he's talking to her the whole time.
That's what the idea of sleeping on it. Like, if you need one of those things, going home with no remedy is not going to make your day any better.
No, it's not.
What is the third thing she has? Like thickening or something like, she has like
I don't remember.
and she says something like, why is this a thing? Like, I wish I could remember what it was.
I hope it's not thickening, because there's something about that word that makes me feel very uncomfortable.
Thickening.
The thickening. Is it moist?
What happens here in between scenes is something that becomes a staple of the show. And Ferg, you talked about it earlier, like these transition scenes. And every time it's just, you're seeing something kind of absurd that's happening in the store, but not something that's not plausible that could happen in the store. So here we're just seeing like a baby in a crib just by himself, like someone just is shopping and left their baby in a display crib. And the other thing I want to mention is in this quick little cutaway, you can always hear music playing like through the PA system. In this episode, they're using a lot of real songs, which I think they did in the early seasons. And I'm sorry because I don't like to go ahead, but I think eventually they went to like elevator music versions of songs or fakies. But right here, we're hearing Take On Me by Aha.
Yeah, they paid for the music rights on this one.
Yeah, and quite a few songs. Like, there's a good chunk of songs for like the pilot episode of a television show. So they put a lot of. They were definitely very confident that this show was getting picked up because there's a lot of production and money in this episode.
I think we're going to start seeing it more and more. Like, I don't know how much you guys follow the news of this sort of stuff, but like, Bob Dylan, Neil Young, Stevie Nicks, like all these people who have these giant catalogs, Springsteen, are selling the rights to their back catalogs now for just like huge sums of money. And I think that now that's going to make it so a lot more popular music is going to end up in shows and movies like that, because it's going to be licensed out from the same people who own it.
Didn't Michael Jackson like own the entire like Beatles song?
He owned a lot of the
Yes,
Beatles.
he owned a lot of the
catalog.
Beatles songs,
He bought
yeah.
it from Paul McCartney, so I guess like whatever chunk that he had. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense, honestly. Like if you're at the end of your
Waste
run
of
and you're not
money.
going to be like touring around a lot, you'd be like, all right, fuck it. Give me X amount of $1 million and I'll just take that payout. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, I think it's smart. I mean, for the amount of money too, like what Dylan and Springsteen got, like that much money, just like you could put that into a high yield account and your kids could live off the interest.
Yeah, it's
forever.
generational wealth.
Yeah. So I'm hoping we'll see more AHA in other TV shows, is basically what I'm getting at.
Right from there, we get a quick little scene between Jonah and Mateo, and they're the two new hires, right? So Jonah did whatever, and Mateo just kind of makes it very clear to him, like, hey, just so you know, you're my competition. So I'm kind of rooting for you to fail.
I just laugh at that because what competition?
Right. He does that.
What?
Okay,
Not a
thanks.
contest.
Bye. And walks off on him. And it's just kind of like, why? Yeah, exactly. Why is there competition in your mind? Like, they didn't say, hey, these are the two new recruits. At the end of the day, we'll be keeping one. It's like, hey, these are the two new employees.
Right. Or it's not sales based on commission. It's not a promotion fight. It's just your two proles at this job.
Right. And there's a point where as they're talking, he sees like Amy off in the distance and he goes to wave to her, but behind her is Dina, and Dina's just under the assumption that Jonah's waving at her. And as we talked about is early on in the interview, like Dina has a thing for him, so now she's a little flustered thinking that, oh, he's into me, he's giving me a little wave. Did you have any like expectations? Did you think there was going to be like a resolve to the Dina Jonah story at all this episode, or?
No, this seems like the kind of thing that's like a seasons long joke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Not only that, there's a few things like they kind of like glaze over. Like I don't want to get to the end, but there's a part where like he walks off to be with Amy, and like Dina's right there, and she doesn't react at all. And I thought there should have been a scene where she at least like made a face.
Looked a little jealous or something? Yeah.
That's because America always wins.
So,
USA.
we transition and we see Amy talking to somebody real quick. And as they're having this conversation, we start seeing all these customers just start flying down the aisles and like scurrying to the registers, and they can't figure out what's going on. And Glenn's like, could it be a race riot? It's so hard to tell in the early stages.
Foreshadowing.
And he's like, could it be the rapture? And then that's when they realize that Jonah, who was taught to do everything at 25% off, was hitting reprice instead of reduce or whatever. And he was making everything 25 cents instead of 25% off. So now
I'm happy about this though, because that's karma. She was being a bitch to him, and she taught him fast on purpose and hoped he'd fuck up, but not fuck up like that to that extreme. So she got what she had coming to her,
Right.
instead of training him properly.
I think it was like her intent was he's going to have to come back with his tail between his legs and say, I couldn't figure it out. Like, will you please explain this better to me? But instead he figured it out, but incorrectly. Yeah.
I want to give him credit though. He missed one step, and it was an important step, but he remembered a lot of shit.
That's better than I would have done.
I forgot it instantly, and I tried to report it in my head to see if I could even do it, and nope, not even close.
So here's my thing. So now there's basically a riot going on in the store, right? Because everyone's grabbing TVs and all these other big electronics because everything's ringing in at a quarter.
You know, my issue with that is they're all grabbing like tiny TVs. No one's, you don't see people running with big screens if it's 25 cents.
Do you know what my issue is? How does everybody know?
That was my issue too. Yeah, like how does the
How
word
does
get
everyone
out of
know
that?
everything's a
Yeah.
quarter?
Maybe it automatically updates the app online.
Like, did one person go to buy a TV and it rang up a quarter and they just screamed it to everyone else? Hey, everybody, buy some TVs.
Didn't Garrett on the customer service microphone say,
That's
"Uh-oh"?
after.
That's after,
Later,
yeah.
as it's going on, like as all this chaos, yeah. Because
Oh,
now
okay.
as everything is going, you see like everyone just scurrying down. Like I said, there's absolute chaos. Amy's outside having like a fight with a soccer mom.
Amy's 100% wrong here. That was rung up, and she was allowed to leave. You can't make her come in. You can't fight her and take the stuff back.
And like, but even like that,
Yeah, it's a
the
lawsuit.
woman didn't realize like that she was completely in the right. She was almost trying to fight. Like, no, it's like it touched the car, like making childhood rules. But like, you bought it. It's fine. It's yours.
Yeah, you purchased it. You left. You have a receipt.
And they're like fighting over the
It was basically 3, 2, 1. No one else can come.
right from our Norseman episode. If you guys want to listen back,
And it makes sense because that woman also had a penis necklace on the entire time, just like an Norseman.
yeah. And as everyone's trying to run out of the store too, you see like the quick part too where the the security guy is just like, fuck this, and he just takes right off.
Now, is that character, I'm sorry to go ahead in the series, is that character in the show in the future? Because I don't remember him.
I don't know. If he is, he's not a big player. I don't remember, but his name is Frank in the episode, and I really don't remember. But yeah, during all this chaos again too, like you had mentioned, Garrett's like on the intercom and he's like telling, attention shopping, everything's priced at 25 cents. It's a mistake being corrected. Stock up quick. Go, go, go.
I love Garrett.
He's loving the chaos. Yeah, I mean, what does it matter? You just work here, right? Like, just enjoy the fun. Who cares if everything costs?
Back to what Joe said earlier. He shows up to get his pay. He don't give a fuck about that place. So he's having fun with it. Well, like no one has the pride that fucking Amy has. But no, this place is the greatest.
Yeah, and like, why fight it? Like that they're not going to get in. Like, I mean, Jonah might get fired, but like nobody else is going to be in trouble for that, and you're not going to start tackling people.
Oh, that would fall on the floor supervisor having a new employee repriced without properly training.
Basically,
I get Amy freaking out because this probably fall on her, and maybe even up to Glenn because Cloud9, the corporation's going to lose a lot of money.
I would say if we're going to really dissect this, though, right? If they put signs up, then you always have the argument when you get to the register, like there's a sign, then they have to honor it. They could change the price back like quickly, just like put something in the system.
Yeah, they could be like, oh, it's not scanning, and then somebody could just change it. Yeah,
right. Yeah. Behave when the registers are down because they can't steal the stuff; they're just buying it for quarters.
I love too though that Jonah's bragging about it. He's very high on himself because he's like, I figured it out. I'm killing this, and he fucked it up.
He was very happy. We also get during this is Mateo being like, I don't want to be that guy, but if you had to compare my performance versus Jonah's, because again, it's a competition for what? Like, why are you in competition with him?
I mean, he could do nothing for the rest of the day and win this fictional competition.
Right. Yeah, no. I mean, this is like, he's playing with a big lead at this point. And this basically ends with Dina running up with a shotgun and like blasting the air and saying, "Sale's over." And again, it's funny because
very Dwight.
I never would have made the Dwight comparison until you guys brought it up. And now it's like, it's so clear like how similar those characters are.
Yep.
And Dwight's shot a gun in the office. Dina's shot a gun in the office. That's a girl's gun. That's just silly. I can think of Dwight with a gun.
And then we go to the break room and Glenn's like, there's no need to identify whoever's at fault for this. We can just learn a lesson here. And Mateo's like, would that lesson be not letting Jonah reprice inventory in the future?
Threw him right under, yeah.
So catty. I love it.
And this is when like we also get the little like during all this conversation, Jonah mouths that he's sorry to Amy, and like during the meeting because she's like standing off like towards like I don't know the sink or whatever, but she gives like a little smile and kind of shakes her head like in a more I don't hate you way, and like a way that like if your friend did something. So I guess this is the first time that she's really, I guess him being humbled helped with her a little bit.
She feels bad for him.
It's also the moment too where you're like, maybe this doesn't matter that much. I mean, she's not even the main boss, right? Something like Glenn's angry. He's the one who would take hell for all of this.
Yeah, it's not going to come down on her.
And Glenn don't get angry.
Yeah.
He had too many Zimas.
And at this point of the... and also during it, Jonah is sitting next to Garrett. And he's like, hey, do you know if employees are allowed to date supervisors? And he's like, I don't know why. He's like, I'm just curious. But Dina's like sitting right behind them and she's overhearing it. And again, now she's smiling because she's been under the impression this whole time that Jonah has a thing for her. So kind of a runner that's been going on this whole time.
Ironically, Dina ends up with Garrett in like one of the seasons.
But we don't know that.
Pilot
only. Hey, we need a like a buzzer. Like anytime any of us, I do it myself too. I did it in this episode. But anytime we like break format and go past the pilot.
I've got an easy button, but it's the best I can do.
Y'all think this is easy? It's not.
Yeah, especially when it's a show you've watched, it's very difficult. And after the scene, we get another cutaway, and it's just like a guy walking down the aisle with his kid in a stroller, but he's just piling all the stuff on top of the child. So all you can see is the kid's
legs.
Yeah, all you see is the legs, which is a bunch of products over him, which I thought was pretty funny. I don't have a child myself, so I can't say whether or not would do that personally, but I could see how that happens.
Never to that extreme, but I've put stuff on top of Max when grocery shopping. It's not that much room in these carriages.
Take these hot dogs and try not to eat them.
And if it's for grocery shopping, it's just all that's on top of them is cookies and mac and cheese.
Basically.
I mean, to be fair.
And hot dogs for his hot dog toaster.
A hot dog toaster, RIP, stopped working.
For longtime listeners, we used to talk about Ferg's hot dog toaster a lot in the early episodes. It's been quite a few months since we've gotten into it, but to catch you up, Ferg did have a toaster that was meant to just slide hot dogs in.
And buns. It toasted the buns.
You got the buns too. It's a real double threat.
It's real intervention.
How often did you use that?
I used it for a while, and then I got sick of hot dogs.
That'll do it. When you have a piece of machinery that only makes one type of food, you really can burn out on that.
The novelty of it goes away. Yeah.
I put taquitos in it once. I'm like, this is such a good idea. Frozen.
That's how Ferg lit his house on fire.
Is that how you broke it?
Maybe. No, it's now when I push the thing down, because it literally is like a toaster. You push the thing down, they go down, they pop right up every time. So it's something with like the spring mechanism and the locking thing. It still heats up if I hold it down.
In my head, it just makes me think of those videos where people put things in the soda stream that aren't water, and they're like, "Oh, what's the worst that could happen?" And then like red wine shoots all through their house and breaks through a window. Ferg just shooting taquitos all over the house.
Well, anyways, now we get another scene with Jonah and Amy, and he's trying to show her how bad he feels by he made a giant display with cans he was stacking that reveals a giant sad face.
Those LaCroix?
So you guys will see it too. Like when you go to supermarkets, usually like the Coke and Pepsi vendors do that stuff where they like make all these big arts with like the boxes of 12 packs, but he just used the cans itself, but formed a picture with it. But all I'm thinking is like, she uses though, well, what happens when a customer wants a can of ginger root beer, which is like, you know, in the middle, so now you're gonna have to pull it out because it's covered in things. But for me, it's if you walk into a store and you walk by and the display is a giant sad face, you go, what's happening here?
Is it also a throwback to Walmart too? Because remember they had the like Walmart smiley face ad campaign our whole life as kids?
Yeah.
And instead of beware of falling prices, you're beware of ginger root beers that will be falling on you.
I just think it's so odd. Like, I just think of how off-put I would be if I was walking down the aisle and just saw this giant display sad face. Like, what's going on here?
As you walk right to the gun section of Cloud 9.
It would make you sad and not buy soda. It's like reverse marketing, triggering sad face soda.
It's all part of Big Water.
Big water.
We have a point where Amy and Jonah are now walking after this, and they're having a little bit of a conversation. And Jonah is just like, "Oh, I was just trying to have some fun." I think talking about the face that he made, and she's like, "Maybe it's a cultural thing, but around here, the less screwing everything up you do, the better." He was like, "Are we talking about the cans or the pricing thing?" And she's like, "Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, you know, all of this." And he's talking about like, "Yeah, I've made mistakes, but you know," then he's talking about how you have to have a little bit of fun at work. And then he starts talking about moments of beauty and everything. And she's like, "Wait, did you just really use the moments of beauty thing from like American Beauty?" And he literally grabs a plastic bag and like throws it in the air, and the camera kind of follows it down.
It falls so non-gracefully too.
Yeah, it just sort of thuds.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of weird to have that American Beauty reference, like what must be probably 17, 18 years after the movie came out. But
I do say though, anytime I see a bag like that floating, we always make that joke.
right.
I was like, isn't that
It
beautiful?
makes sense though. That age group that this show is targeting.
Yeah, like we all catch it.
Be us who saw it, yeah.
But I feel like my mother who watched Superstore has no idea what that meant.
Sure. Well, there's a lot of other scenes in American Beauty that if they did, it'd be super weird. Like Mateo's on the workout bench.
Oh, Kevin Spacey just existing.
Oh, that's a bummer. I mean, obviously I haven't watched that in a long time, but now it's going to be a hard one to rewatch, huh?
So let's move past the bummer.
Back to the sad face.
Yeah, we know, yeah. Well, moving past that scene as a whole, we get another one of those weird little cuts where, first off, the song in the background is Free Your Mind by En Vogue, which doesn't feel like the typical type of Walmart-y song or Target type song, but you see two customers who like, they crash carts by accident at first and they kind of smile like, oops, but then they did it again and now they're like both aggressive because now they both feel like they're in battle and they're just trying to like win it. It's a really quick thing, but
minus the
weird.
battle part. This has happened to everybody in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You go to move and the other person moves and it's just, you know, you're in that awkward situation. Do I stand still? Do I like move now?
I hate being in charge of the cart. I feel like I always get in the way of somebody and then you're always apologizing. You try to back up and you hit some employee who's moving like one of those big red things full of stuff. It's just a nightmare. I just walk away.
I don't apologize. I just look straight in the eye and I just establish dominance and then I fart.
Okay.
So dominant, Cordo.
Oh yeah, take this.
And then after that, we get a scene where Cheyenne's at like the makeup department and she's doing Dina's makeup. And like, it's very aggressive. Like Dina's like squirming. I don't think she's used to having like her makeup done in this way. Cheyenne's like, so tell me about the special guy. And Dina's like, okay, male, Caucasian, no discernible scars or tattoos.
Very Dwight.
I cannot unlike hear the Dwight comparison now. Now everything she does is so Dwight. But yeah, anyways, Cheyenne's like, oh yeah, sounds dreamy. It's like, yeah. And then Cheyenne tells Dina, speaking of boys, I got a pretty big decision to make. My boyfriend, and that's when Dina's like, I'm glad we could have this conversation. And then she just takes off on her. She just walks off mid thing. Just you think they're going to have a little chance to bond here, but she's just disconnected from other humans, I guess. Dina just operates different.
Also very shrewd.
Yeah.
She cares about herself and her birds.
I was going to say, too, I like how she only has one eye makeup done, and she's had enough of it.
She also says a very strange line that she doesn't usually do eyeliner. Sometimes she uses Sharpie. It's like, what?
It's probably more efficient. Just real quick for it.
That's why they do those tattoos now.
So now from there we get Mateo running up to Amy, and Mateo's like, excuse me, hi. I hung up everything that was in the dressing room. I organized it by style, color, size, and relevance of designer. And Amy's like, wow, good job. Mateo's like, I enjoy hard work. It's just like my mom always said, if you don't work hard, baby Jesus will cry. Okay.
That's the best line of the whole episode. Just because the way he says it. He says it with like the Filipino accent, like mocking his mother.
And then really this is just another opportunity for her, for him to just rat out Jonah again and tells her, I don't think I could be happy fooling around in the parking lot like the other new guy. And now you see Jonah and Garrett having a shopping cart race with they kind of like these, like, what are those mops? Like the dry mop almost?
Like a Swiffer.
Yeah, and they're using those as like oars to like get through this obstacle course where they have also set up coolers in the parking lot to kind of be the obstructions. And is this where we're getting Move Bitch, Get Out the Way? Ludacris is playing?
Yeah. I think we keep talking about it too, but the soundtrack for this also seems like it's very much garnered to
our generation.
Right, yeah, because it's stuff from like when we were real little kids to when we were like in high school.
Yeah, so at this point too, I was, not to sound funny, but how did Garrett get in the cart? Did they have to like pick him up?
And he pushed himself up and climbed in with strong arms.
Well, if somebody held the cart,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess. Probably still difficult, and someone would have to hold it down. But yeah, I was like, did they have to like pick him up and leave? And like, then how does he get out?
I would have a hard time getting in with both working legs. So,
yeah,
yeah. The idea of doing that and not hurting myself with whatever quasi-mobile legs I have is hard enough at this point.
Amy runs out and catches all this, and she's like, the only thing I asked you to do is put the carts away. And Jonah's like, that's what I'm doing. You see Garrett fly by with a see you later, sucker. And then Amy tells him, are you trying to get fired? What if Glenn sees this? And now you see Glenn go by and he's like, coming through.
I didn't expect that at all, and I know that killed me.
It's funny because I had like seen this episode and completely forgot about it, so it caught me by surprise again. And I like that he kind of like they used the shopping cart return thing as like the finish line, so they had like put some sort of tape across it, and he just has to fly back into the return area for the carts.
But then also the carts go back where they belong. Everybody wins.
Yeah, it's perfect. He did what he was supposed to do.
I assume Garrett's been there for a while. He knows how the store works. He knows Glenn would just love to be included, and that's how they could do that without getting in trouble. So
that is smart. Yeah,
invited Glenn. You want to join? It's what everyone's doing. Yeah.
Just think of how much that stuff must have gone on at a job like that in like 1984. You know what I mean? Like pre there being cameras everywhere, the amount of shit you could get away with working at a job like that.
But like at this point, like I understand that there's a lot of friction between Amy and Jonah, but when you see your boss is taking part and having fun, like why are you still so strung up about it? Because she's so pissed off when this is happening.
Well, that's her breaking point. She realizes that he's involved. She can't do it, and that's when she kind of breaks down and starts explaining.
Yeah, she grabs like that mop from, she's like, look, I can have fun too. Woo!
But also, why is she yelling at Jonah when the senior employee who he's with is doing the same thing?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, she's yelling at Garrett because Garrett is clearly in.
Well, she's just a super tight ass.
Yeah, Jonah's the last person, like, realistically you should be mad at. Like, if the boss and the senior employer are doing, like, who's he to say, like, no, we shouldn't be doing this, Yeah,
this is like the first episode of The Office. You wouldn't get mad at Ryan for saying put him in custody for jumping in on that. You're mad at, he's the new guy. He's just trying to be like, oh, this is what's happening here.
You're gonna be one of the crew. And during this, she pushes Jonah's cart, and Jonah has no brakes because it's a shopping cart, and he just flies right into somebody's car. And I was kind of hoping there was more to that. Like, they cut away right after that, and that's when we go to the new scene. But I just thought there should have been some sort of a angry customer, or that was like...
It should have been the lady from earlier who tried to buy all the stuff and she fought with. They have a callback and be like, "You're the worst!" Ah! Like,
or maybe the stool softener customer. Like, this is the worst day ever.
Good thing she didn't buy a fender softener. Am I right? Because that would have been real bad for that car.
Boo! Not funny.
But yeah, I thought that scene could use a little more, because they made it like a big deal. Like, she pushed him into the car, and it's gonna mess the car up. So I thought maybe a little follow through there,
or
but
at least show Jonah like hurt later.
Yeah, something.
I kind of hope that with the Superfan episodes they're doing of The Office, there is rumor they're doing them for Parks and Rec, which we talked about. And I imagine if you're going to start going down the line, a show like Superstore, which we've referenced a bunch of times, is a lot like those shows and probably has a ton of very funny things that were cut out for the time run. You could probably do Superfan episodes of these things, and maybe there's
that'd be
something
fun.
there.
And something to justify having Peacock.
I was just gonna ask that. Is this available on Peacock?
Yes,
That's where I watched.
Okay.
Wait, Superstore?
Superstore's on Peacock.
Yeah, it's on Peacock.
Wow, I watched it on Hulu.
Ooh, Peacock dipping in everywhere.
Interesting. I wish I remembered that, because I would have seen it without commercials.
Yeah.
There's commercials on both for me because I don't have the expensive version of either. But I'll say this: Peacock has far less commercials than Hulu.
Yeah, if you have that version of Hulu, you're going to watch a lot. More than if you're watching it on regular TV at this point.
I hate Hulu.
That's why I can't watch anything on like those Roku channels anymore. It's like, watch a movie on Tubi. Like, I'll fucking pay for it. I'll rent it. I'm not doing this anymore.
So I want to get back in. So this is... After that happens, like I say, that was the end of the scene. The cutaway that we use this time is just a little girl peeing in a potty in the middle of an aisle.
Yeah, awkward.
Do we get a Gordo laugh out of this? This seemed like a Gordo laugh scene to me.
It's more of a Gordo jealous, because I would totally duke in one in the middle of a store.
You don't have to be jealous. You can go duke in one.
Go ahead, this is attainable. How close is the nearest Target to you?
There's a small one on Brighton Ave.
You know, that's the kind of thing that happens at Target too, so it wouldn't even be like weird for them. It would just be like, we have a $3.19 in aisle 6. Like,
yeah, I know, right?
I mean, I've worked in a lot of retail stores in my life and a lot of clothing retail stores, and it is more than both my fingers can count how many times I've seen people just do that in a dressing room. But not like they had an accident, just like somebody went in there, pretended it was a stall, and then left. All the time.
fuck?
Dropped a deuce?
Yeah.
Really? Did you have to clean it?
What's it, Jackass, when they went to the toilet store and one of them took a shit in the
Yeah, it's like a hardware store.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, no, you don't clean it. The person who's the lowest on the totem pole cleans it. And luckily, anytime that was a situation I was in, I was not the earliest person working there.
You weren't the Jonah?
One time it happened when I was working in a place and we had holiday help. And that is a classic, get the holiday help to help you move. Like, oh, do you like this for right now? Are you getting paid $8 an hour? Go clean the poo. I'm not doing it.
Clean the poo.
I would literally walk out of the store if you asked me to clean human feces.
Me too.
Out of I would just say, fuck that. No.
I'd say, I'm seasonal. I got nothing to lose, bitch.
Oh, yeah, you can just walk out. Gordo, it'd be kind of shitty if you walked out, though, because you're the one who did it, too. So it's just kind of not fair that you were doing
I refuse to clean my own poop.
While you're at it, wipe my ass.
Anyways, as we keep spiraling off, we get a scene with Amy and Jonah, and Amy's kind of trying to... She gives him a peace offering of some flowers that he had to throw out recently. They're trash flowers, but nonetheless, she feels bad that she pushed him into the car. And this is when Amy really opens up to him. And I thought it kind of didn't fit the way that it happened. Like, this conversation didn't work right where it happened or how deep it went. But she was really talking about how routine and like mundane her life is and how everything's just kind of the same thing over and over and over again. And she talks about like, see this, like these glow stars are for graduation. And then like these come down and then we put the back to school stuff up and then the Thanksgiving stuff and then the Christmas stuff and the Valentine's Day. And she's like, and I do this every year and it's the same thing. And yesterday is just like today and today's going to be like tomorrow. And I just thought, and then she also followed up with like, and that's why it's hard to find these moments of beauty like that, he spoke of. And I just thought, I don't know, like what about Jonah makes her upset about how routine her life is, because he's kind of coming in as like a breath of fresh air, right?
Because the first time they met, he pointed out that that job was beneath him.
Yeah, but since then, the whole debate between them has kind of been, oh, you're the fun one. Like, you want to have fun and do these different things. And then her argument to him later is about how routine her day is. So you would kind of think that he's resolving that issue for her. So I just thought it was kind of weird that that's how she presented her problem.
I also don't think that, sorry to cut you off, I don't think that's an excuse for her character being such a tight ass. Like,
right.
If anything, that would probably make her want to liven shit up more.
Right. So if I was to look back, I would think that maybe the way to approach that conversation would have, instead of having her give this speech about how routine her days are, would be more about like how bad she needs the job. Like, listen, like my mom's this, and like I got a kid and this, and I can't afford this.
Kids.
And, like, yeah. But like, you know what I mean? Like just something to like, I didn't think this is where I was going to end up, but circumstances have led me here, and like, I need this job, and I can't like, and I take it seriously because of how important it is to like provide for my family. And I think that would have been just it would have made more sense for her character to go that route.
One thing I always think of with these two is like, look, you shouldn't complain because, and no matter what the situation is, the grass is always greener, right? Like she can say that to Jonah because they essentially have the same sort of job, but she's way up higher than him. She's making more than him. They essentially have the same job and the same day and the same existence now, but she's in a better position than he is, right? So now it's a weird thing you're throwing on him. But also I kept thinking of, look, I know it's different and it's not the same, but like think about what your job was when you had a job like this, where like you left it at the door. Like we've all had jobs where you both, right? Where like you go home, you have to work, or if you didn't finish your job that day or your work, that work's waiting for you in the morning. And then you have these jobs where it's like, oh, you didn't stock this, whatever. It's like, oh, the next person will.
Yeah, the overnight crew is going to reset everything, yeah.
Like, and you just leave it at the door, and like, I don't know, there's some weird...
That's true, I've thought about that before, yeah.
Yeah, like when we worked at the convenience store gas station, Nick, right? Or like where you guys worked at the grocery store or whatever, right? Like you work for 8 hours, and then you leave, and that's the day, and you never take it with you. Right. And there's something to that.
Like in a nice way, though.
No, in a good way,
yeah.
Like in a ball of anxiety way. I'm like, man, I do miss those moments of like just leaving and being like, y'all want to go get something to eat? And just not thinking about work anymore.
There's not a lot of real weight and responsibility.
Jobs like that, your only incentive to do your work is to not get hassled about it later.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, so after that is we get Garrett, and he's kind of giving his closing announcement for the day over the PA. And we get a couple, I won't get into everything he says, but we get a couple weird cutaway scenes where like someone's sleeping in the bed, like one of the employees is just sleeping in a display bed. And oddly, there's a old couple that's just slow dancing.
What were they slow dancing to? Because there was no music playing.
The one time they're not playing a licensed song is when we have an old, it's like, I feel like that clip was supposed to be somewhere else, like it's just one of the random cutaways, and then it didn't fit, but they didn't want to like not use the shot because they really liked it, so they just slid it in there.
Yeah, like if like Sea of Love was playing or something, it would make sense.
They definitely tried to license Closing Time by Semisonic, and like they couldn't pull that one last minute, so it just didn't
or
fit
they knew that was too hard riding The Office because they did it already.
No, everyone's used that song though, so at that point it's okay.
Oh, sure.
Simpsons did it.
I hate that song.
We're getting another like quick scene of Mateo just talking himself up, but this is all just to get to what's happening next, where some robber shows up and holds up the entire store with a gun. But and you know, we get everyone get on the ground, calm down, and then we find out that and Dina is like, oh, this is what I've been training for. And she like scurries off, and you see her like using her forearms to like move, like while she's on the ground going through the aisles, like shimmying down. And then we have the robber say, now I'm going to start killing somebody every minute unless you agree to marry me, Cheyenne. Hit it. And then we find out that it's
Bilbo.
Yes. And Garrett says, hey, what the? And the guy pushes him away. To play like music.
He just rolls.
Yeah. And some guy grabs his like, you know, well, why am I forgetting? Jeez.
It's like iPod
PA
or
system.
Well, I was trying to think an iPod. Like it was like an iPod or something. He's just playing over the speaker. Completely like blanked out. I just kept wanting to say like iPhone. I'm like, it's not an iPhone.
No, it's an iPod.
I miss iPods.
A Zune?
Yeah, it's probably a Zune. He had his mini disc player.
His Pono.
But yeah, and at that point, that's when we see that Bo organizing an entire flash
Bilbo.
mob? Stop it.
That's what his name is. It's actually his character name is Bilbo.
Okay, is it addressed in this episode at all?
It is not, but it's hilarious to me that his name is Bilbo.
All right, well anyways, so we got a flash mob that starts, and this is all done to the song Marry Me by Jason Derulo. Joe, any other Jason Derulo songs you're a big fan of?
I never heard this song. I hate this song, and I also hate flash mobs.
I want to hunt this
Wait,
song.
that's not Jason. Isn't that Bruno Mars?
No, this is Jason Derulo.
It is the worst song ever
Yes.
made. Yes, it's definitely Jason Derulo.
Jason Derulo just sounds like 12 people we went to high school with who are now like, listening to this podcast or something. Just like dudes we knew growing up. Like it's just like such a town name.
Well, it's like his shoot name, the artist name. Like,
Oh, sure. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
I love those dudes who their name isn't like Johnny Bravo. It's like, Greg Gerulo or whatever.
Whoa, mama.
Whoa, mama. Is that your new name?
No, Johnny Bravo.
Bravo says.
You never saw Johnny Bravo on Cartoon Network?
Not
Oh.
Greg Brady.
I was going Greg Brady.
Oh.
anyways, I want to talk about this flash mob a little bit because it was a decent flash mob, I guess. If we're going to rate it on the flash mob scale, everything was going pretty well. There's a lot of choreography and dance moves
Also done in the office.
You know shit like this bothers me on these shows, and
because it's not realistic enough. It's too far from reality.
this pissed me off until the comment of thanks to YouTube, and then I went, all right, that's funny.
Yeah, at least they got a little meta about it.
Yeah, I do appreciate that they reference it's like shitty. This is why this happens now.
This is why the world sucks.
And Bo does take a little opportunity to rap during his re-proposal, I guess this all is.
Do you guys want to start a flash mob?
Nope.
No,
No.
Could we
Nope.
do
Nope.
a flash mob?
No. You can.
Nope.
Go
sure.
for it.
You start practicing.
You know what I think would have been a lot better, though, is if we really all baited him in and said, yeah, man, let's do it. And I would even go as far as we could practice it and do everything. And then
Oh, I would put the hours into
we all
practice
just
to
show up at
bail
a
on
mall
it,
one
yeah.
day and then Gordo just rips his pants off and
Gordo
he's in
has
a
genie costume under his
Gordo's
clothes.
just alone. He's alone in a mall, rips his pants off,
Hey, pee in my mouth.
and then the flash mob starts.
How am I the only one with a soundboard?
You're the only one who says shit like that.
Do you think people would want that as a ringtone?
No. Again, no.
Do you think we could try to
No.
get
Nope.
Get your own Gordo pee in my mouth.
Who's boner?
Can we put it on the iTunes store? We'll give you all the profits, Gordo. However many downloads you get.
Anyways, as this flash mob thing is concluding and Bo's done rapping, he's given a lot of last one-liners, and as he shouts out a Black Lives Matter, and they just cut to Garrett, who has the most confused what the fuck face. For those of you who haven't seen the show, Garrett is black, so
And Bilbo is not.
Bilbo is not. So his shock and confused. Garrett's expressing so many things at one moment as they cut to him during that, and that got me.
And he just walks. He forgets what he's doing and acts like he's
Yeah.
walking off stage.
Yeah.
Bo does finally propose, and this is during this we cut to Dina, who's in the back because she's on the phone saying that I think he's about to shoot a hostage because she's watching over.
She can't hear anything, but she can see the security.
She can see the
cameras,
security
yeah.
cameras. But you'd think at this point she would recognize, but she's so disconnected from her coworkers that she probably doesn't. Actually, as I'm saying this, Amy didn't know who Bo was, right? So Dina definitely
Amy
wouldn't
knows
know.
because Amy saw him proposing.
No, but he doesn't know that
No,
they're
but when
together.
she sells the ring, she
Right.
didn't know who
I'm
he
saying the
was.
top of the episode when he's buying the ring off her, he's not oh, this is my coworker Cheyenne's boyfriend.
It's strange to me because she, like you said, she doesn't know who he is at the beginning of the episode, but then throughout the rest of the series, he's there all the time. So why was this the first time he's ever been in there?
Maybe they were,
Something
I don't know. Yeah, maybe Cheyenne was fairly new herself. Who
Maybe.
knows?
Yeah, I guess maybe Cheyenne. I mean, she's in high school, so maybe she doesn't work that often either because, you can work after school or weekends.
And I would say the real answer to that is they probably didn't anticipate using him a lot at first. He was supposed to be a throwaway character, and
Right,
then
he was
they
so
really,
funny. They were like, fuck
yeah,
it.
he was really funny. So they're let's find some stuff for him. Dina then goes to cut the lights to distract the robber in her head from shooting. So if he can't see. But this is when we reveal that all the glow stars earlier when Jonah and Amy were talking, Jonah somehow set up throughout the entire store
about 40,000 glow stars in a matter of 20 minutes. Yeah, this was the most ridiculous thing.
This is where they lost me.
This scene here, lost me. Like, I thought that the way that this happened was like, because all I talked about earlier was how realistic everything was, how the sets were spot on, like everything looked really good.
Silly as fuck.
And then you think like, how did this one kid first off, destroyed all this merchandise, but like, forget that.
How'd he get up there?
Yeah. Somehow, went deep into the ceiling and was able
got
to
a
like
scissor lift and nobody noticed him all day long.
Just for hours putting these up. So I thought that was a little too, this was less realistic than the flash mob happening. Because it cuts and everyone's just dazzled and it does look amazing. The visual was really cool, but everyone's like in awe and they're playing like music and it's like this big magical moment. And Jonah's just trying to give Amy like something to remember the day by because she's talking about how every day is the same. And it's supposed to be like this big sweet thing. But I just felt that it was a little too dramatic and it didn't fit the tone of the show at all.
No, but you see that with a lot of sitcoms, though, sometimes is when they'll have one serious moment.
You know what? What do I do when I see that in some sitcoms? I fucking cancel them.
Ferg does not like when it goes this way.
I thought this was like a very extreme situation. Like it really didn't fit at all. It really threw me off.
I said it last week. Suspension of disbelief only goes so far. And that really bugged me.
Me too, to be honest with that particular scene.
One scene, like, just work out a way for him to have done that without everyone being like, wait, how? You know what I mean? Like, if he got everybody together and said, hey, on our lunch breaks when she's not paying attention, let's do this because she seems to care about everybody. Like, give some inkling of how this could have happened.
That's not a lunch break amount of work. That's
a problem.
That was like 12 hours of work.
But if it was everybody, you could at least make the argument that.
But even then, physically, like they don't. You would like you said, like you need like a scissor lift. You can't.
Oh yeah, it's unrealistic. I'm saying, but like throw us a bone. Don't make it so.
It's got some kind of star gun.
Yeah.
It's like Homer Simpson's makeup gun. Or Johnny B. Bad's t-shirt gun, because we haven't mentioned wrestling yet this episode. I'm a bad man.
But moving on from that, that's when we get like kind of the closing scene where they're all outside in the parking lot. And are they all actually drinking beer? Was that what they were supposed to be drinking?
It's like Sparks.
The Cloud9 soda. He says it.
So it was not alcohol.
Malt beverage. He says malt beverage.
Yeah, he said it was a malt beverage.
So it is
Sparks
alcohol. Okay. So it is. So they're all sharing a drink with each other in the parking lot and having like a little toast to Cheyenne, who's drinking juice because she's pregnant.
It's not recommended to have orange juice when you're pregnant because it's acidic and it makes the baby like move around.
Oh,
real fact. That's what they tell you to do for ultrasound, so you can get a picture of the baby's parts.
Seeing through the dingling.
If you want to see baby dick, drink some OJ.
Well, if you're trying to determine the sex of the baby,
you gotta hang dong. Otherwise, you never know.
It's recommended that the mother eats just a little bit of Viagra to make the penis grow.
Okay, that's weird. That's super weird.
Yeah, if she has an innie, then she'll get an outie.
Just move on from.
I'm just sharing parental knowledge, and Jade's gonna take
Jade's
the baby
horseshoeing like baby boners into it, and it's fucking gross.
That's how it happens. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't make the science up.
Bill Nye once told us about this.
It was actually Mr. Wizard.
Who is baby's boner?
Oh boy.
But yeah, so that they're all talking, and there is a nice little part where you see Bo in the background with some cops because he's very much getting arrested for this fake robbery that he did.
Also, we talk about that he asks her, are you going to marry me or are you going to be a dick about it? Which I think is the best proposal of all time.
That was one of the best lines, and I missed it, yeah.
Like, I'm sad I didn't use that line.
Me too.
As they're all talking, there's a little part where Cheyenne's like, all right, well, I should go bail out my boyfriend now. Or, bail out my fiance. And Glenn's like, aw.
But before that, she hugs Jonah and said, if it wasn't for the stars, I wouldn't have done it, which makes him look bad to Amy, who doesn't want them to get married.
He's already like in so much hot water with Amy. And yeah, it was made clear earlier that Amy does not want those two to get married.
She does not like Bo one bit.
Bilbo.
And then we get like a little part where Amy and Jonah are walking alone and kind of having like their last interaction of the episode. And Jonah apologizes, for what he did. He just wanted to make today seem different than yesterday. And Amy has a nice little quick, reply, was like, well, joke's on you then, because like this same exact thing happened yesterday. So they had like a nice little moment, like they're warming up to each other now. I think she appreciated what he did for her, as unrealistic as it may have been. And this is when Jonah signs off with her saying like, see you later, like champ. And that's when she finally says Amy and tells him her name, which you think it's supposed to be a nice moment, but I guess again, if we're going to dissect and be real about it, everyone there knows her name and probably will call her by name throughout the day. So she could probably only keep that up for so long, unless you got everyone else in on it.
Clearly ask Garrett too, who clearly he's already bonded with.
I kind of think though that he does know her name, but he wants her to say it to him.
That could be part of it.
She's aware her name is Amy, but he's waiting for her to like say it. I think that's what that is, because Garrett would have said it.
That's his green light, if you will.
Does he get greenlit or canceled?
We'll find out soon. But yeah, so she says her name's Amy, and he says, nice to meet you, Amy. And Garrett steps in and says, you should come with us, man. Like, we're going to throw some mannequin limbs in the dumpster and watch garbage men freak out.
See, funny in theory, but so are they going to throw these in and then wait there until morning?
Yeah, right.
At like 3 in. Or it's like 10 p.m.
They did just drink a bunch of malt caffeine, though, so.
That's true. If you drank a bunch of Sparks, you're up that's happening.
But, they could be like, they set it up now, and then when they come back in the morning, watch it all play out, potentially. But yeah, he says that sounds awesome, and he's like, it is awesome, come on. And then they take off. And this is what I actually really like this about the episode, because it's a big, big reveal to end the episode. Because now that Amy's alone and she's walking to her car, she takes her wedding ring out and puts it on. And then she kind of looks up at the stars. So you don't realize that she's married.
This was foreshadowed earlier, too, when Cheyenne says, I wish it wasn't still a policy that we can't wear jewelry, when she's talking about her engagement ring.
I'm calling bullshit on this, because you can wear a wedding ring at work.
I'm sorry, do you work at Cloud9?
Actually, I take it that
actually, I do.
Actually? What?
No.
Actually, this one.
They're actually in the United States of America, and a wedding band is a religious symbol, i.e. they cannot make you take a wedding band off, because that is an infringement upon your religious rights, even as a cook.
When you're dealing with heavy freight like that, it can become dangerous because the ring can snap your finger off. That is a policy at a lot of places like that, where you're dealing with heavy freight.
Yeah, if you're in like freight or...
Boom! Actually...
But I think you can wear it. It's recommended you don't, though.
It's recommended you don't, but they cannot make a policy that says that you cannot do it, because that is against the law.
Speaking of, did we talk about how they are based in St. Louis?
No.
No. Yeah, it does come up at some point in the episode.
Because he says it when he's standing on the conveyor belt, I think. He's like, St. Louis, whatever.
Yeah, he does. At the end of the flash mob, he does yell that out.
That was a really strange city to pick to base a show like this in. I didn't understand why St. Louis.
Middle of the country, I guess.
Isn't that where Walmart's based out of?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I know
Walmart is now based out of planet Earth, because they're everywhere.
Yeah.
I forget where, somewhere in the south.
Ferg and Gordon, do you guys want to go back and forth just nerding out over policies and federal laws?
Or we could maybe wrap this one up, boys.
Yeah. But what did you guys think about that reveal? I mean, forget legally whether or not that's anything.
That was really, really good, because now I don't know what to know. Now I don't know what to expect.
Yeah, so I'll say the first time I ever saw the episode, and then rewatching, I love how there's no hints for her. Yes, they do allude to the policy earlier. They give you a little foreshadowing, but there's nothing that's going to make you think that this is coming. There's no little hints throughout the episode that she's even trying to drop or anything like that. So when that happens, it you go, oh, wait a minute, because they're clearly setting up her and Jonah. And now this obstacle isn't the fact that she's, just seeing someone, she's full on married. So I thought there was a really big twist to just drop on you, real fast as the episode's closing out.
I do too, but the way she looked up at the stars, because she looked at the stars at the end of the episode the same way she looked at the ceiling. So what it says to me, what I think, never having seen this show rather, maybe her husband is dead, and she's just kind of keeping that on and looking up as kind of a reminder.
Actually,
I'll say, to have someone who didn't watch the show, that is an interesting take to hear from someone. Yeah, because I wouldn't think that way necessarily right off the bat. But I don't want to get too into it because I don't want to A, spoil the show for you, or B, get into episodes we don't talk about because we're staying pilot based only anyways. But yeah, no, I think that's a really good point because I guess I didn't dawn on me at the time. I mean, that's going to pretty much conclude the whole episode. It ends on that big, I don't want to say cliffhanger, but plot twist for sure. Superstore as a whole, though, anything you guys want to talk about before we close it out?
Just that Walmart is based out of Arkansas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, again, before we close it out, I do think, again, the show, the way that the set works, and we talked about it at the very beginning, but the thing I liked about it was that because they used this like set, and even when they recreate it later on the soundstage, it feels big and open, and it doesn't feel like a closed-in sitcom. So everything's reproduced, but I don't know, the vibe of it, just because they shot it the way they did, makes it just way more believable than if it was like an old standard sitcom where they just recreated a small set and it's a store, but it's really, you could tell it's not a store, like how most other stores would have attacked, most other shows would have attacked that before. I think that really aids to what makes the show work to me, is the fact that they set it up that way. I think had they not put that kind of detail in for the sets, even with the same writing, acting, like everything, it just wouldn't land the same way. Like, you really needed that authenticity.
Are you surprised that this show, just given when it came out, the style it is, that it wasn't done in mockumentary form?
I'm a little surprised by that, actually.
I remember the original commercials made it look like it was. I remember comparing it to The Office.
Having said that, though, I'm really glad it's not.
Me too.
You know,
it's
like
been
this,
outdone a little bit, but
yeah, and this works better. I mean, this stands alone.
For the time it came out, though, you're right. I could easily see this workplace ensemble thing being presented that way. It absolutely could have gone either way. And I bet there were discussions about it when they first created the show.
This is also, as far as I can tell, the writer, Justin Spitzer, I think this is his first show. Like, this is the first thing he's ever done. So maybe that's plays into why it was.
No, he's done movies and stuff. He did the American Gangster movie.
Oh, he was actually a producer on The Office for like 6 years.
Yeah, he's actually like the producer and creator, I think, of American Auto now. He wrote like
he produced for Mulaney too, actually.
Yeah, he actually did Mulaney too. Yeah. He did like episodes from The Office, like Did I Stutter? So he's written a bunch of good stuff.
And Mulaney.
Yeah, he wrote a bunch of great stuff, and then Mulaney. Really. Also, I keep saying to everybody, everyone should watch that American Auto show. It is seriously great.
And I'm sure we'll cover it pretty soon. We've talked about it, so that could be coming in the future. But yeah, let's just jump into it, guys. Let's do the green light or cancel. I'm going to go in the order that I currently see you in. So, Ferg, starting with you.
Great show. It's got a lot of stuff I like about it. I think it starts a lot stronger than it ends. I don't like the last third of the show.
You talking episode or a series? This episode?
Sorry, the episode. I don't like the last third of this episode. That being said, when I first watched this show, I hated the pilot, and watching it for now a third time, because I rewatched the show, it's actually a hilarious pilot, and I don't know what I saw the first time, so it just shows you, give shows another chance. I'm 100% giving it a green light. I love these characters. They all have so much personality. Big ensemble cast, yet you somehow get to know each and every one of them, which is really hard to do, which we've seen on some of our other episodes where they have ensemble casts. So, yeah, green light for me.
Nick.
Yeah, I kind of have an identical route to this show that Ferg had for some reason. I don't think we've even ever discussed it. This is the third time I've seen this pilot because the first time I saw it, I did not like it. And I gave it another chance and ended up loving the show. And I think, Ferg, what the difference is you're watching this pilot with the knowledge of what these characters become, which makes it easier to appreciate them, I think. So maybe they didn't do that great of a job with the characters, or maybe, I don't know, because I'm as confused as you are. I don't know why I didn't like it the first time, and I love it now.
Yeah.
This episode specifically, but it has to have something to do with the fact that we know these people better. It's a green light. It's fun. It's just like, I feel like I say that for every show that I green light, that it's fun, but I feel like that's what I want for a sitcom, right? Like, I want to have fun watching it. I don't want to be bored. I want to be invested in the characters, and I got all of that with this episode, so that's a green light for me.
Joe.
I think one of the things Ferg said that is so I agree with so much is that it's a short show, but you get such a good glimpse of everyone's personality in that time, which is really hard to do with a big ensemble cast. And we sometimes talk about the like halcyon days of when Parks and Rec and The Office and 30 Rock and everything on Thursday were happening. And this show to me feels like the weird natural successor to that, which is just such a great time in TV. And then Justin Spitzer's new show, American Auto, is the first show in a few years I've felt is carrying that sort of torch. So there's something about the way he writes, and I love the Office episodes as well he wrote, that just bring me to that happy Thursday place. So I really love this episode. I think it was maybe the second or third time I've seen it. I have watched the series all the way through, and it was one of those times where I was like, I just want to keep watching this right now. We have dinner, because I just really am enjoying it. So I'm sure I will go back and maybe tonight or tomorrow rewatch a bunch of it. So green light for me.
Gordo.
It's a green light from me. I can definitely understand what you guys were saying, that you guys didn't know the characters and maybe you didn't like it at first, but there was enough there that me not knowing anything about the characters, like you all have said, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, you get enough of it and it's fun enough that I want to see more. So I'll probably watch that tonight. So it's a green light for me. I really liked it.
Yeah, and I'm going with the rest of you guys. It's a green light for me as well. I think with shows like this, and what I think they did a good job with, is, again, the authenticity, not just the set, but just the vibe and the camaraderie. And when you watch a show like this, it just makes you think about when you worked in jobs like this, or if you don't now, when you did in the past. But it does make you reminisce, and it's so relatable in that way. And I think that's what makes the show like fun for you, because you can see yourself there with them. You could see yourself working at Cloud9 and talking to people like this and how your day would be, because you were there at some point, or I was at least. But yeah, everything about this show just really clicked with me. I really did not like that star scene. I thought it was like, it would have been cool somewhere else, like not here, not the way it was done. But yeah, other than that, everything flowed. It just like, I just wish it didn't have that weird little taste in my mouth towards the end, because it just didn't fit the tone of the show. But other than that, I loved it. Easy green light for me. So that's 5 of 5, guys. That's a perfect score for Superstore. So thanks to everyone who's listening.
Not surprised on that one.
No, I'm not surprised myself either.
In our old age.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Want to remind you guys once more, go to S1E1pod.com. That's where you can go to find all our social medias, all the links to where you can listen to us. Please rate, review, subscribe, do all that stuff there. Follow us on our socials. Again, keep beating it to death. We need the followers, so thank you when you do. We're getting a lot of downloads, so we just want to see that translated to our social media a little bit so we can interact with you guys more, because the more we get from there, the more we're able to craft our show in a way that you would best see it fit, and do the shows you want to see, and figure out what it is that you like and don't like. So that's a good indicator for us. Plus, we just like interacting with the people who listen to us, so that's always fun for us. But again, S1E1pod.com is where you can go to do that. But that's it. That's all the time we have for this week. Thank you, guys. Goodbye.
Zima tastes like candy.
Baby Jesus will cry.